My dad ordered me to show up at my sister's wedding or lose my college money. They never expected I had already graduated #1 in my class and was earning more than both of them on that wedding day. For most of my life, my sister was the plan and I was the backup. When she wanted to switch majors twice, my parents paid the extra semester without blinking. When I needed a laptop for my computer science program, I was told to look into financial aid. I didn't resent her for it, not really. She didn't ask for the difference in how we were treated. It was just how the house ran. My dad kept a mental ledger of what he'd given each of us, and mine had one line item on it: tuition. He brought it up constantly, usually right before asking me for something. Then my sister got engaged, and the ledger became the only thing anyone in my family talked about. Every dinner turned into a seating chart discussion. Every phone call started with a vendor update. I was expected to show up to all of it: the tasting, the dress fitting, the engagement party, the shower, on top of a full course load, and the job I'd already quietly accepted for after graduation. I say quietly because nobody had asked me a real question about my life in months. I'd finished my degree requirements a semester early, walked in the winter ceremony instead of waiting for spring, and signed an offer letter 2 weeks later, well above what my dad made after 20 years at the plant. I mentioned it to my mom in passing. She said, "That's nice, honey," and asked if I'd RSVP'd for the cake tasting yet. 3 weeks before the wedding, I skipped a seating chart meeting because of a client deadline. My dad called that night. "You've been letting this family down," he said, without saying hello first. "I had work," I told him. "Your sister is hurt. Your mother is exhausted. And frankly, so am I." He paused, letting that sit for a second. "If you can't show up and support your sister the way this family needs you to, we're done paying for your school." I almost laughed. Nobody had asked me a single question about my job, my apartment, or my life in months, but missing one seating chart meeting had somehow become a crisis. "Okay," I said. He seemed thrown by how easy that was. "Okay, I'll be there," I said. For all of it. I hung up smiling. He still thought he had a string to pull. He didn't realize it had already come untied months earlier. I showed up to everything after that. I carried boxes at the rehearsal. I smiled through the dinner. I let my sister introduce me to her fiancé's co-workers as still figuring things out, but he'll get there eventually. I said nothing. My parents were thrilled. They assumed the tuition threat had worked, that I'd finally fallen back in line. I let them believe it, mostly because I wanted to see how far they'd actually take it. The wedding was held at a country club an hour outside the city. My mother spent the morning making sure every table had the correct centerpiece. My dad barely acknowledged me until cocktail hour, when he clapped a hand on my shoulder and said, "Glad you finally came around." I just nodded and let it go. At the reception, after the vows and the first dance and the dinner service, my dad stood up with a microphone in one hand and a glass of champagne in the other. He thanked the guests, praised my sister and her new husband as the kind of responsible young adults everyone in the room should aspire to be, and then, almost as an afterthought, turned toward my table. "Some of us are still finding our footing," he said, smiling out at the room. "I'm proud I can still help this one get on his feet." A few people laughed politely. My sister beamed. He held the microphone out toward me, clearly expecting a thank you in return. I stood up and took it from him. "First," I said, "congratulations to my sister and her husband. I mean that sincerely." A few nods around the room. "I also want to thank my parents for everything they've given me over the years." My dad's smile widened. It didn't last long, which is why I was a little surprised to hear tonight that they're still paying my tuition, I said. A ripple of confused laughter moved through the nearby tables. "Because I actually graduated back in December. Top of my class." The table went quiet. My mother's smile froze mid-motion, like someone had paused the video. "I'd signed a job offer before I even walked the stage," I continued. "And after my first full quarter, my salary came out higher than what my dad makes after 20 years at the plant." I said it plainly, not as an attack,